good evening. Welcome to SportsZone. I'm your host, Mackenzie Freeman. And usually we start off with the Cowboys or UNT football, but we're going to spice things up as these teams are in dire need of logo redesigns. Here to show their redesigns is Valentino Rojas and Alexander Salazar. It is basketball season, so we'll start with the NBA. We're going to go with the Washington Wizards. Alex, why don't you show us what you cooked up first?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go first. So this is what I had. So their original logo when they rebranded as the Wizards was a wizard sort of doing a finger roll sort of thing while holding a basketball on the moon. So I kind of took a little bit of inspiration with that, but I changed it up a little. He's wearing a Wizards hat, and on the Wizards hat, it is actually the design of the flag for the District of Columbia. And he, of course, he's doing a finger roll, and his beard is in the shape of a W, which is, of course, a homage, a throwback to that original Wizards logo when his beard was also a W.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I think it's really fun what you did with the colors there. I went a different direction because I thought the logo being red, white, and blue, I was like, that is very DC and every single, so I was
As
like,
the team?
As the team should. So I went with a star, but the star corners make a W for Washington. And then I loved that their their logo has the tower, and I think that is so cool because it is something so emblematic of DC.
Right.
So I kept that coming out of the peak of the star, and then these are the basketball lines and another W, and it's hitting the Wizards. So it's the Washington Wizards. And I went with purple because that gives me Wizards. And I didn't have enough colors, but I picked yellow for the star. This is my logo for the Washington Wizards.
I feel like I sort of combined the ideas of Val and Alex because this is what mine looks like. First things first, they're a basketball team. Sports teams, they're meant to be fun. Let's actually get our mascot in the logo. You've got the wizard, and he can summon the magical skills of basketball as they are an NBA team. Like Val, I went with the Stars because they are in Washington, D.C., so you got to do something somewhat patriotic there. And then most logos, they have the name around, so I went with the Washington Wizards, and that's what I cooked up for that.
I think it's cool that it's kind of like a mix.
I know, it's like we all got the purple in there.
Yeah.
We all managed to get a basketball in there.
Well, I think maybe the team needs your logo the most because if you've seen any Wizards game before, you know that they are in desperate need of some talent. So
any type of talent, whether it be artistic or player-wise, they need talent.
Maybe they need to summon some talent from your logo.
Maybe. Let's see. What do you guys want to go next with?
The next one, we're going to stick with basketball again. We're going to go with the Atlanta Dream. I went with this logo because I feel like it's kind of basic, and I felt like, they have a creative name like the Dream. So this is what I went with. It's the inspiration was a cloud. As you can see, is the outline. And then I could fit a basketball in it, so I put the basketball. Name of the city, because if you know anyone from Atlanta, they're proud to be from Atlanta. So you've got to include the city name. And then I didn't go with a traditional orange basketball, because when you think Dream, what do you think? You think visuals, you think colors, you think all that. So that kind of explains my logo. Val?
I think, especially for the WNBA, I wanted to do something that people would look at it and be like, that's really cool. And so I got inspired by Jordan, and I did an A, but of a woman, and her legs are the A for Atlanta, and then just the D surrounding her as the Dreamers. I wish I could have added the name, especially because it's a WNBA team and not a lot of people will know where is it from. I think it's special for
I like the tribute to the NBA though.
Yeah, that's what I was like, you know what? If you just have a random logo, people are not going to be interested in it. But at least this is basketball, and I really like the tribute of that the new stars are coming up. So it's cool. I really like this one.
And Alex?
It looks like we all went with different ideas here on the Dream. This was my idea for the Dream. So as you can see, it is the outline of the state of Georgia.
Okay.
And it's colored as a peach, like the state is a peach because, of course, Atlanta, Georgia is the peach state. And as you can see, there's a star right there to signal where Atlanta is located in the state of Georgia.
I like that.
I mean, you know, like when you have a name like the Dream, you know, you can take it a lot of ways. So you can dream a lot, and this is what I dreamt of when I came with the design of the new Atlanta Dream logo.
I really like that,
I love
especially
that.
since it's a tribute to the whole state, and for a lot of different sports teams, you don't really see that. But now we're gonna transition to some hockey. Obviously, this year, the Utah Hockey Club became a team, and they've already announced that they're gonna redesign and all that fun jazz. So Val, let's see your redesign of their logo.
Okay, guys, don't judge me. I lost the original design, and they're more artistic than I am. My original name was gonna be the Utah Peaks, but I just went with Utah Club because I don't like their logo right now. So I was going with, let's do something for right now. It is the C of the club and then a U in the middle of the mountains. At least, they're known for their lakes too. So I did the little U in blue, and it's falling through the mountains like the lakes and the lakes are not in mountains, but they have like waterfalls in their mountains too. And I don't know, I just want a little simple. It's good for a starting logo team and not just the name on the jerseys. So I think it's a good starting logo for the Utah Hockey Club,
And Alex, before we get into yours, I'm gonna go with mine just because mine and Val's are kind of similar, and you took a different approach. I went with the Utah Canyons. You've got the hockey sticks on the bottom here. Obviously, it's a
that
hockey
is awesome.
team.
I did not see that before.
And then you've got the mountains at the top, and then obviously Utah Canyons. And it's a lighter green than what I had. But if I were to fully redesign this and maybe make this on mine, this would be a bit of a darker green because I also have a jersey idea that I would do with this color scheme.
Okay.
If they were the Utah Canyons. Alex, what's your idea?
Yeah, I think out of all the ones that I designed, I think I cooked the hardest with this one. The name I've heard the most when it comes to a new name for the Utah Hockey Club is the Yeti. So I went ahead and went with that. So this is my
I love
Yeti
that
design. At the top, of course, you can see the mountain range because there is no Utah without mountains. In his left eye is actually the state outline for the state of Utah.
Let me see that.
That's cool.
That's cool.
I didn't notice that the first time.
In his right eye, it's a star, tribute to the star that's on the Utah flag. For his nose, it is actually a beehive because Utah is the beehive state. And overall, the design of the head is also a tribute to the Utah flag. So this one, a lot of thinking went into this one, and I'm real proud of this one.
I definitely
I love
think
that one.
if we were to vote a winner, that one would win. When you
Definitely.
showed me in the lobby, I didn't even see the Utah outline and the different tributes, but you put so much thought into that one. We're going to move on to the NFL. I think everyone knows which logo needs to be redesigned the most, and that is the Washington Commanders. Now, I'm going to go first just because you two have showed me your ideas, and they're quite similar. So this is my Washington Commanders logo. At first, so my first idea, I wasn't artistic enough to make this come together, but it was of like a soldier shooting a football out of a rocket. I like the
Art major,
Commanders. I like the
know?
Commanders as a team name and a team
Yeah.
mascot. But as you can see, I just went with the classic like Trojan or Spartan, whatever you want to call it. And then I kept their colors because it obviously goes with the Trojan uniform. And yeah, that's what I cooked up. Val,
I
you wanna
like
go
it.
next?
Okay. So I went with their mascot. Don't quote me on this, but I think his name's like Hot Toddy or something like that, or Bubby, something. But he's a pig. And so I did a little hog, pig, whatever in the middle with, the helmet. And this is also kind of going with the Trojan era. So the helmet has the red part of the hat, but it connects with the C of the Commanders. So I think that's really cool, and they really do need to work on their logo. So I think this is cool,
Yeah, you can't
So-
just be a W.
You can't just, And they don't have any W's right now, so.
They have
That's
6.
okay.
They're pretty good this year.
I don't know. I don't like
The
them.
Cowboys bias is
I
real. Alex, what'd you have?
Yeah, I also went with a hog, but I think mine was for different reasons. The offensive line in the 80s for the Washington franchise was known as the Hogs due to the fact that they were so tough, so gritty. So I decided to go with that, and yes, I also made mine a hog. So not really much to explain here, just a clean, simple hog.
I love
And
that.
very quickly, guys, let's go ahead and get into our MLB logos. We're going to look at the Athletics as they're moving to Las Vegas. This is what I have. It's pretty simple. I mean, when you go to Vegas, you think of casinos, you think of poker. So I did a card, and then I have the same font as the A's. Val?
I know they're moving to Vegas, but I did a last tribute of them in Oakland. So they have 9 stars from their 9 championships they've had, and then the baseball is an O for Oakland. And I just kept their logos, because athletics. And so I did a tribute to their last logo in Oakland rather than Vegas.
And for me, when you also think Vegas, you think the Welcome to Las Vegas sign. So I did that. You got the green lights around the sign. And yeah, I really like this one. I'm proud of these.
Right, and as the A's are saying a goodbye to Oakland, UNT was on their bye week, so when we come back, we'll discuss the American Athletic Conference outlook.
Good evening, my name is Amanda Hasbell, and I'm joining you here today in the Union Parking Garage. Today we're going to be going over how to drive safely in the parking garage. Let's go see. Oh my God, this girl just got hit by a car. Let's go see what happened. Ma'am, are you okay? Are you okay?
Did you see that lady hit me with a car?
Yeah, we did. I got it all on video.
Oh my God.
Let's go over here and talk about how we can prevent that.
Yeah, not the hospital.
Well, right now we're going to ask you a couple questions on how we can drive safely in the parking lot. What are ways that we can be aware of our surroundings?
Oh, we can look both ways.
Jenna, also, how about putting the distractions away?
Yes, just like our phones, turning our music down, and also not focusing on our passengers.
Where can you get information on how to get a parking pass?
Transportation.unt.edu.
If you park in a garage, make sure you pay on the app or look for further instructions on how you should pay.
And remember, no pass, no park. Let's all try to keep our Mean Green community safe.
Remember, we're all in this together.
Drive safe.
I'm here to rescue you.
Oh, my prince.
No so fast.
This story's going to be awesome.
Welcome back to SportsZone. This past week, UNT was on a bye week, and we're midway through the season, so it's time to take a look around the American Athletic Conference. I'm joined by Drew Maurer and Isaiah Ortiz as we take a look. This weekend, there was a lot of important games. You had Army trying to continue their undefeated streak. You had Navy trying to continue their undefeated streak in the American. Obviously, they lost to Notre Dame 2 weeks ago. But out of the American Conference games this Saturday, which did you guys find the most important? Isaiah, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I thought that that UTSA-Memphis game was really important because Memphis really needed that win, and the easy wins are going to come because they have a really important game later in the year versus Tulane, which could really set up the AAC championship in that spot. So them dropping that game against UTSA, to me, was a huge loss, and I'm shocked that they lost.
I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach here. I think Navy and Rice was most important, and them losing that game, they're essentially out of the race for the American Athletic Conference Championship, and I think it was a huge loss for them, something they didn't really expect, but they just, out of the gate, Rice whooped them. They were up, I believe, 14-0 in the first quarter, and that essentially takes them out of the race because you have teams like Tulane and Memphis who are going to go probably against Army if all things go right for them. So I think that was the biggest game, and them losing that was huge for Navy because we thought we might get an Army-Navy American Athletic Conference Championship, and we're just probably not going to get that anymore. So in my opinion, that was the biggest game, and Navy didn't come through on that one. So.
Yeah, and fun fact about that game, I believe I saw on Instagram that was the first time since either 2016 or 2018 that Rice has won their homecoming game.
Wow.
That's
crazy.
Yeah. Well, UNT might be able to relate to that one a little bit
yeah.
after Tulane came in here. But you went on the other end of the spectrum. I'm going to go with Army here. Keeping up, I know it wasn't an in-conference game, but keeping up that undefeated streak going into their last 3 games, I mean, their morale is high, and it's really good to see them coming together, keeping up that streak, especially with Bryson Daly out, who's just contributed so much for them. And then, guys, you mentioned Memphis, you mentioned Navy, I mentioned Army. We've got some great teams in the American who are all up for talks. Who's going to win the AAC? Who's even going to be in the championship? Who do you guys see winning the AAC, Drew?
Well, we haven't really talked about one team yet, and that's Tulane. I mean, we're talking about a team that, in my opinion, has the best quarterback in the American Athletic Conference. And, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, we're just not talking about Tulane, and they're a really, really good football team. And we could see them going into this championship with Army and beating them, possibly unbeaten Army, depending on how things go against Notre Dame. And we're just not talking about it. I think Mekhi Hughes is fantastic as well. I think he would win the Doak Award if Ashton Jeanty didn't exist.
Yeah.
So this is a team with an electric offense, with a decent enough defense to win them football games. Their only losses coming against Kansas State and Oklahoma. So really, really good opponents they're losing to. I think this team could seriously, I think they could go up against Army in the AAC championship and beat them. So that's my opinion. That is going to be the American winner. It's going to be the Tulane Green Wave.
All right, and then Isaiah, yours?
Those were my exact words. I also do have Tulane winning. Yeah, for those reasons as well. I like their run game as well. Their running back, Mekhi Hughes, 5th in the nation when we talk about rushing yards. Their quarterback, only a freshman, has played outstanding so far. They had a long-term starter. He comes in and he basically plays, I think, better than he's played at Tulane. And you think about the culture that they've built. A Cotton Bowl championship a couple years ago. They've really become one of the class of the AAC. I really do think they continue their dominance. And like you said, 2 losses against a Big 12 school and an SEC school.
Right.
And they weren't blowout
not
losses.
a bad loss to the SEC school.
No.
Not at all. They lost by 14 points to OU and 7 points to currently ranked Kansas State.
Exactly.
Right.
They are still really good, and I do have them winning.
And and I want to just talk about Mensah for a minute as well. We're going to go back to that Kansas State game. He almost had 400 yards passing in that game. I mean, he seriously put in the work to win that game. Their defense just wasn't there against an SEC opponent. And honestly, OU struggled in that game a little bit. I think they kind of Tulane had a chance to win, and maybe they're going to be looking to take vengeance on that in the coming games, because I believe they're on a 5-game winning streak now. So it's been huge for them.
Well, and just looking at the schedule, because you mentioned Tulane and Army. You said that's a potential AAC matchup game. You look at Tulane's rest of schedule. They have Temple, easy done. Should be the easy win. And then you've got Navy, which Navy, their morale may not be high right now because they've lost 2 in a row. And then Memphis, which again, that could be the tail sign of who gets to go to the championship game.
Absolutely.
And then you look at Army, they have UNT, which is going to be scary for UNT.
Sure.
Their run game is incredible, and UNT struggles there. So I'm not saying it's a win for the Army, but quite possibly could be the Army. Then obviously they have Notre Dame, which we'll see how that one goes, but that one has no implications on conference at all. And then they have UTSA, which UTSA is not as strong as they've been, so that should be another win for the Army. But that gets into the point of you have Army, Tulane, and Memphis all sitting at the top of this conference. Only 2 can go to the conference championship. Who do you guys think is getting snubbed? Drew?
Well, Memphis is absolutely the one getting snubbed here. I was having a conversation before the show talking about Seth Hennigan being potentially the best quarterback in the AAC. Obviously, we think maybe Chandler Morris is the best quarterback in the AAC. This is a team that's really, really good in the passing game, and they're also fantastic against the run. They're I believe, 31st in FBS against the run, and that's huge against a lot of these teams, especially Army. I mean, seriously, Army is a team that runs the ball a lot. So if Memphis gets matched up against Army in the AAC championship, that might be a win for them. So them not being able to get to that championship, they're going to get snubbed. So it's going to be huge for them to see if they can win out in these last couple games, and maybe Tulane slips up, they can sneak their way in and beat Army.
Yeah. And Isaiah?
Yeah, I agree. I do think Memphis will also get snubbed here. That loss that they just suffered against UTSA was such a big one because that game against Tulane is at Tulane as well.
Yeah.
So a big home game, last game of the year. I believe that game's on a Thursday too. So a quick turnaround for a team going on the road. Not a lot of things pointing in the right direction for Memphis in that standpoint. I think Tulane keeps things rolling and they'll meet Army in the AAC championship.
Right, and speaking of keeping things rolling, there's a lot of schools in the American Athletic Conference, and there's been plenty of teams that have been performing well this season. Out of the teams in the AAC, who's impressed you the most, Drew?
Well, I got to go with my Mingery here. I think I've been pleasantly surprised with, despite the losses in recent memory, the last, the 3-game losing streak. I think UNT's been pleasantly surprising to all of us. Seriously, it's been a fantastic year offensively. Chandler Morris has come in and essentially turned things around. And what's so great about Chandler Morris is that usually we're a school where guys come in, like Jamori Macklin of late, and Chandler Rogers, of course, last year. Guys come in, and we're a stopgap for better schools, for Power 5 schools.
Right.
Well, Chandler Morris came from Power 5, so I think he's kind of changing the culture here, and that's been so huge and so good for us to see, is that UNT is actually turning into what we thought Eric Morris was going to bring in his air raid offense. Just got to get the defense turned around. If the defense was even decent, the UNT
could force 2 more turnovers. We could be, 7-1 right now?
Absolutely.
8-1 right now?
Absolutely.
The only loss coming to Texas Tech? Isaiah?
We could be in the championship as well. So
exactly.
Just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I got to go with the Armed Forces here. Who could have predicted this, really? Both of them being so good that the last college football game of the year, we know it's Army and Navy. That has potential to be a really great game. I won't say fireworks because that's usually like a 14-6 type of matchup, but it's going to be exciting now that there are 2 really good programs coming here this year.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Army here just because the Navy has dropped 2 games, and it's because of the numbers. Last season, they were 6-6 as an independent. Now they're obviously undefeated, but they went from a bottom 25 offensive team to a top 40 offense, and they're 5th ranked in defense this year, and we're nowhere near top 5 in defense. And that might get into coaching, which I'm going to ask you guys, if you were to give an AAC Coach of the Year, who are you giving it to, Drew?
Well, I want to say Eric Morris, but I got to go with the Tulane coach. And because he's just so, we already talked about how good Tulane is. Right? And just the fact that he's been able to turn that program around since coming in. He came from Troy, and Troy also turned things around. And now they're struggling in the Sun Belt. So there's this culture change at Tulane. And I think he's got to get Coach of the Year. He's probably, I believe he's had Coach of the Year. Yeah. At least in the past 2 years. So I think it's got to go to him.
And then Isaiah?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jeff Monken, the head coach for Army here. Again, who would have thought we would have been talking about a ranked Army team outside of NCAA 14, if you know, you know. But yeah, they really overperformed here. Huge game against Notre Dame. I'm rooting for them to win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jeff Monken here as well, just because he's turned the Army around, and I don't know if it's due to the transfer portal or what it is, whatever his secret. But that's all we have time for right now. But when we come back, we'll take a look at the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm so tired. I feel ugly. I'm not okay. I didn't know UNT had counseling services. Maybe I should check it out. This looks like the place.
Why should you join Talons?
We are very welcoming to people who may be a little bit hesitant. There's people currently right now in our organization who are in leadership positions who were hesitant before to join, and they found out that they just love the organization and wanted to be a bigger part of it. They post about the football games, everything they're doing, all their events that they host.
What's the best part about Talons?
I would say meeting new people, because the university, while it's a kind of small campus in terms of like physical land, there's a ton of people here. And so getting to meet all these people who have so much school spirit and love for this university and wants to spread that to other people, it's kind of like a little miniature family that we're in.
Good evening, welcome back to SportsZone. I'm your host, Mackenzie Freeman. And before we get into the Dallas Cowboys and their game against the Falcons, we're going to jump into some trades that were made as the trade deadline is coming up tomorrow. I think one of the biggest ones in the past few days, as I'm talking here with Oscar Chavez and Isaiah Ortiz, we've got to look at the DeAndre Hopkins trade. This probably is the best trade that I've seen so far this season. For Kansas City, not for the Tennessee Titans. Oscar, what's your thought on the trade?
This is exactly why we're in the middle of a Chiefs dynasty. They do what they need to do. They go get the pieces they need. Rashee Rice goes down for an injury. He's looking to be out the full season. And then you have Hollywood Brown. He's gone. And so you draft Xavier Worthy in the first round. You're trying to help Patrick Mahomes all you can. But that's not working out. So you go get another weapon in DeAndre Hopkins. And I believe that's just what they needed. They also got Josh Uche from the Patriots, so they're just doing absolutely everything they can to build off this dynasty.
And Isaiah, your thoughts?
Yeah, I do agree. It's probably going to be the best trade value-wise for a wide receiver here. You think about when Rashee Rice went down, really a great guy when it comes to separation and also a big red zone threat. I go back to the first game without Rashee Rice. Juju Smith-Schuster drops the ball in the end zone and leads to a pick. Obviously, they don't lose that game, but I thought it was pretty indicative of what they needed for a wide receiver. So you go out, I believe you only trade, a fifth or a sixth round pick for DeAndre Hopkins, a conditional one at that. Really a great value move here, and I think he's going to do tremendous things in Kansas City, playing with the best quarterback he's ever played with.
Right, and just getting into the numbers here of DeAndre Hopkins, his career stats, 945 receptions, 12,557 yards, 79 touchdowns. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler and a 3-time All-Pro. That's so much talent that the Titans gave up, and I feel like they could have gotten more for DeAndre Hopkins. Do y'all think that the Titans are entering rebound mode after this trade?
I mean, yeah, they weren't a very good team coming into the season. I had them going like 4-13.
Yeah.
I may be right there. But
yeah, they're only at 2 wins.
Yeah, they went into the season, got a lot of offensive pieces. Tony Pollard, DeAndre Hopkins still there from the year before. Tyler Boyd hasn't worked out well. Will Levis has become more of a walking meme than an NFL quarterback at this point. So I really do think they're going to be entering major retool mode. There's a lot of great wide receiver prospects in this draft. I think that's what they're going to be focusing towards in 2025.
So I did not have the Titans being that bad. I really was looking forward to the Will Levis show. He had crazy arm talent. I just thought maybe a little bit of footwork issues, but nonetheless, it could be coached up. They went to go get great pieces, like you said, Tyler Boyd, Pollard, however, and also Ridley. But on defense, they also got Ernest Jones, who they just traded away, and L'Jarius Sneed. And I really thought that was going to be a group that got it together. I'm sad to see that they got fired Mike Vrabel, and I don't think that was the right decision. However, they're completely in this rebuild mode now, and they're tanking for someone.
Yeah, and out of these trades this season, obviously, some of the big ones, Amari Cooper to the Bills, Devontae Adams to the Jets, now DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs. What trade in general has shocked you the most, Oscar?
I would have to say what I just said a little earlier. Ernest Jones for Jerron Baker and a fourth. I believe Ernest Jones is a really good linebacker. He did help the LA Rams win that Super Bowl his rookie year. So he definitely has some talent. However, when you get traded back-to-back times in one season, there's definitely some character issues. There has to be something going on behind the scenes. So I'm just a little more confused on that. Jerron Baker's an excellent linebacker. I believe they're ranked 29th and 28th, so virtually the same thing, but they did give up an extra 4th-round pick. So it's just a little weird for me. It's a little shocking, yeah.
And Isaiah?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cam Robinson trade to the Minnesota Vikings. Christian Darrisaw, their all-pro level tackle, went out for the season with injury. They had a real big hole on the left side of the field, so they go out. They trade for a quality tackle here. Now they're going all in for a Super Bowl run here in Minnesota. I was more shocked at the trade for Jacksonville. They do have a young tackle in Anton Harrison that they're looking to build more reps with, but really hear what's the future here in Jacksonville. Are they going to continue to trade more pieces? Could we see a Travis Etienne on the move? Maybe even trade Gabe Davis that you just signed in the offseason. Just because your team is tanking, we don't know the future of both the GM and the head coach. Just a lot of questions, not a lot of answers in Jacksonville right now.
Yeah, I would say that that's a pretty shocking trade there. But as far as these trades go, is there a trade that y'all think is just an absolute poor decision, Oscar?
I absolutely do not think that the Jets should have gotten Devontae Adams. We all knew it was coming. Everybody from a mile away, from a season away, could have seen that Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams were both going to pair up eventually on the Jets. I believe it came in the most unopportunistic time, as the Jets have so much more issues than just a 31 wide receiver can just fix. You know, you don't fix up a defense that was ranked number 1 or number 2 in the nation last year that is really can't stop anything, can't stop a run, can't stop a pass. The guys just aren't looking good, and I don't think a 31-year-old wide receiver can help that.
And Isaiah?
Yeah, I'm going to mention the trade you just mentioned earlier. That's the Ernest Jones for Jerome Baker trade. Ernest Jones has been playing some really good football for Seattle, and he's been exactly what they needed, both as a sideline-to-sideline linebacker and as a blitzer. He's really helped improve that Seattle unit. I don't like this for Tennessee because Jerome Baker hasn't gotten on the field. He just hasn't gotten that many snaps, and really I think it's not worth it because they did trade for Ernest Jones in training camp, not before, like in the offseason or anything. He was supposed to be their starter, and now he's not even playing snaps. I think that trade is going to age poorly for Tennessee.
Yeah, and speaking of trades, let's look at the Cowboys real quick because it's evident that they struggle with their run game. Do you guys think that they'll try to get a running back before the trade deadline ends, Isaiah?
Nope, not one bit, not one bit. I think they're going to ride with the group that they have now. Rico Dowdle has looked pretty good here. Wouldn't be surprised if we see an extension come his way. I think Dalvin Cook is probably going to get more snaps, but I don't see much being made out of that. But outside of that, I wouldn't call it a lost season, just not a very good one.
Yeah, and Oscar?
It's a lost season, 100%. I would say don't get a running back that, like the Devontae Adams trade, it doesn't benefit us any other way. It doesn't involve winning. However, if we were to go to a running back, I said Chuba Hubbard just because Jalen Brooks is coming back from the Panthers, so I expect him to be ramped up. And he looked like he could just break some tackles, something that we truly need because our run blocking is terrible. But yeah.
Well, not only that, but the rush offense of the Cowboys is definitely struggling. They're the 31st in the league, only averaging 3.8 yards a carry. I kind of agree with you where, if you get a running back now, there's not much it'll add just because you look at the defense and how many injuries there are there. Yesterday against the Falcons, Dak goes down. So I don't think there's much the Cowboys can do before the trade deadline to actually improve their team. But looking at the actual game yesterday, Cowboys lose 27-21. They almost rallied behind Cooper Rush, but they just couldn't do it. And CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, seems like they have been struggling to connect game after game. This game in particular, CeeDee Lamb, 47 yards on 8 receptions. Do you guys think, maybe after Dak's injury, the connection will be better? Do you see CeeDee, doing good with Cooper Rush? What's y'all's take on that?
Well, you can't question CeeDee's heart because he was playing through injury. His shoulder was banged up. However, when you miss a whole offseason, you're missing targets. You're missing valuable rep work with your quarterback, and y'all are not going to be on the same page when you jump into a game. So holding out for that contract extension, yes, it benefited you right then and there. You set up your family for success, but looking forward into this season, it hasn't been helping anyone at all.
And Isaiah?
Yeah, it's much worse that he missed so much of training camp, and I blame that mostly on Jerry Jones because this contract should have been done in like June or July. But now you missed out on valuable training camp reps, and now that no one's afraid of the other outside targets, so CeeDee's getting even more attention. That connection is not as fluid because Dak is more trying to force the ball to CeeDee instead of regular pitch and catch type of throws that we saw last season. I do think with Cooper Rush, it'll be more of the same. I don't expect it to get better. It could get worse, but don't expect much.
Yeah.
Well, and let's just talk about the quarterback room for a second. You said it was a lost season, Oscar. So, do you think we maybe see Trey Lance finally get onto the field?
I think so. I think we try to ramp up that trade value and get him out of here to Dallas because he's not our future. Tank for sure.
Isaiah, your thoughts?
I don't agree with that latter part, but hopefully he plays well enough to where a team wants him in free agency and we can get a comp pick out of that. That's the most important part here.
Right. And it may look like the Cowboys season is over, but in North Texas, UNT men's basketball kicks off tomorrow. So when we come back, we'll take a look at our men's basketball team.
What's wrong? Are you stuck in your paper?
Pretty much. I haven't written anything in like an hour.
Why don't you check out the Writing Center at UNT?
Well, how do I meet up with them?
All you have to do to make an appointment is visit the Writing Center's website and either call the number or email writingcenter@unt.edu. The appointment is 30 minutes long, and the trained tutors will be able to help with brainstorming, correcting grammar, ensuring clarity, and a wide range of services. They also do walk-in appointments.
That sounds awesome. I'm gonna check them out.
So, when's this paper due?
30 minutes.
For more information, visit the UNT Writing Center's website.
Yeah, it's 6 pages.
Are you behind on your credit hours? Got more time on your hands this winter? Then you need to sign up for winter sessions. Do not delay, sign up today. Visit registration.unt.edu/winter session for more information or see your advisor.
Ugh, a 20-minute walk? I don't want to do this right now.
Don't worry, you can just use Transit.
Transit? What's that?
Transit is a mobile app that provides real-time tracking to connect buses, UNT shuttles, and even A trains. Simply download the app, then tap on the search bar and type where you want to go. In a matter of seconds, you get results for all available routes. And the best part of it is, it's completely free for UNT students.
What are you doing?
I'm downloading it right now.
Download Transit today and remember, make life better without a car.
Good evening, welcome back to SportsZone. Basketball is finally back here on UNT's campus, and here to talk about the UNT men's basketball team with me is London Stewart and Jose Moreno. Guys, last spring, UNT lost a lot of key players, including Aaron Scott, Jason Edwards, Reuben Jones, and CJ Noland. How did you guys feel about the way UNT navigated the transfer portal after losing key players like that? London?
I mean, they lost 4 guards and 1 forward, so they did a pretty good job in the transfer portal, adding 3 guards and actually 2 forwards, in addition of adding a guy like Aiden Wright, who is coming from a solid Drake team, who finished second in the Missouri Valley Conference. So they're adding they went and scouted some very key pieces that, add into the efficiency of the offense as well to the defense.
No, I gotta agree with Aiden Wright. I think that's a great pickup for UNT, especially. I've been here for 4 years. As you said earlier in the lobby, I am UNC status at this point. So I've been watching a lot of poor UNT basketball offense, a lot of great defense. Still, those Graham McCasland teams are legendary to watch, like in the final 2 minutes of the game. Never the first 15 because it's a snooze fest. But I love the addition of Aiden Wright. He's coming off a 14 points per game season, which if we were to put him into our UNT team and make him the second or third highest scorer of the team, I think that's an excellent addition. We desperately need offensive pieces, but I'm also liking that transfer out of Cal. I think he's going to be doing great things for us. I mean, again, we lost some forwards, like London said, and in all seriousness, we haven't had a good luck with forwards in the past 3 years as well. Most of our forwards kind of underplay and don't really play up to their expectations. So it's good that we're bringing guys in from kind of Power 5 schools, like a Cal, like an FAU as well.
Brand Newell.
Yep. He's going to become doing really good. So I'm excited for this team. We rebuilt from the bottom, but like a phoenix, may we rise.
Ooh.
May we rise.
We might. I mean, I agree with you guys.
Yeah.
I definitely think UNT did a great job of navigating the transfer portal. Jose, you even said it. I've been here for 3 years as well, and when we did get transfers, I'm not saying all of them were bad, but we mainly recruited from JUCOs. So it is cool to see Aiden Wright come from Drake, Brock Vitz come from Creighton, guys like that coming from Power 5 schools. He's huge, and he's a freshman.
God bless.
So
and he comes from a winning program as well.
Creighton did go deep in the NCAA.
Or multiple years in a row,
The Vols.
Tennessee, boo!
I mean,
your mistress team, the team you cheat on UNT with, Tennessee. God, I mean, it's okay. Your whole family went to Tennessee, right? You guys are all a bunch of volunteers.
Yeah. Anyways, getting back to UNT, out of the names we just said, Aiden Wright, other guys. Who do you guys see as the biggest pickup for UNT?
I gotta go with Enright still. It's been a while since we've had a point guard or a shooting guard that doesn't just know how to swipe at people's feet and hands to get a steal and hold people down. Again, that 14 points per game, his 3-point percentage at above 300%, which is something that I really like to look at. UNT has historically choked from three in the most important games. We saw that last year this past season with the conference tournament. We had many opportunities at three and just could not sink that. And I'm tired of crying my eyes out to that Villanova game from 2021, not 2020, that no one played basketball that year, but 2021. I still watch that game and I remember geez, we really could have picked the momentum from three there. And I don't know. I like this pickup. I really do. As a usual UNT doomsayer, I have some hope in my eyes for this guy.
I mean, I agree with you with Aiden Wright. He also was second, in field goal percentage for Drake, which was a very solid team as well. But Grant Newell, that came from Cal, he's used to that Power 5 level as well. He's a 6'9" wing who brings a long presence. With also UNT having a slower pace offense, defense is a big factor because UNT's not going to come out and just score 90 and 100 points each game.
Right.
They're going to have to keep teams under 70. So a long wing in Grant Newell is a great addition towards the team.
Yeah, I'm going with a different outlook here just because a lot of the players that we've mentioned are all seniors. They only have 1 year of eligibility. So they can only do something for UNT this season, which I hate that UNT basketball has come to that as a stepping stone for guys like Jason Edwards to go to Vanderbilt or Reuben Jones to go to Michigan. I'm going to go Brock Weiss here. He never got the chance to play at Creighton, so he's a redshirt freshman. He's huge, and UNT just lost Robert Allen. I think Ross Hodge did a great job recruiting this young guy who can sit and develop in Ross Hodge's system as a relatively new head coach. I'm excited to see what Weiss can do this season. Speaking of Ross Hodge, it's his second year as the head coach. What did you like about him last year, Jose?
A lot of his intensity in games. I think one thing about UNT is we're all bark, no bite. A scary team to look at in your schedule when you're a team like Memphis, but then when you play against us, it's like, wow, we won 80-67. That wasn't as hard as we thought it was going to be. But this past year, I've kind of noticed that we've been winning those big games that we don't usually expect to win, and then kind of not actually keep up with teams like Kansas, which, if you remember this past season, we weren't that far behind from beating that Kansas team in that game. I don't think we could have done that under Grant. Grant was always a guy that we'd be blown out by 30 if we played LSU. But this is a team that I've basically seen grow up and change in front of my eyes. I mean, we moved conferences because of our basketball team.
Right.
So I'm expecting this season to kind of be a step up from last year because now Ross can have more time to really adjust his players, because a lot of the guys that came in last season weren't Ross Hodge's players.
Right.
They were Grant McCashin's players, and that's probably why. That's a big reason why they probably transferred out as well.
Right.
It's because they kind of learned this team is changing. I'm not a part of this vision. I'm getting offers from a way bigger school, and I kind of like that about Ross. Let's rebuild this entire team because the last 2 years of Grant's entire reign was kind of stagnation, and I think we're going to start dipping down, even though we won that NIT. But we shouldn't have even been in the NIT that year. We should have been in the NCAA tournament. I don't care about that Mickey Mouse title. it's a Mickey Mouse it's a participation trophy. You know who we beat in the final? UAB. Who cares? That's not an actual trophy worth anyone's time. I want to
UNT to the Natty under Ross Hodge this season.
Hopefully, man. That's what I want, Ross. And if I don't get it, I'm gonna get really mad. Okay, Ross, is it too hard to just win? Gosh, if we go 36-0, though, I'm gonna take my shirt off and jump into the Denton River and get possibly E. coli. That'd be fun.
I didn't know there was a Denton River.
There is. That's what the Goatman Bridge is.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump and I'm gonna see the Goatman before I jump in. London, you jumping in the river with me?
Nah.
London, what's your thoughts on
But
Ross
I do
Hodge?
agree with you about the intensity. That's something that doesn't show up in the stat sheet. Players love to play for a coach who brings that type of passion. And with UNT being such a team that doesn't have many guys who's going to average 20 points statistically wise, bringing that intensity on the defensive end brings, slows other teams down, and also gets players, brings that enthusiasm to want to play basketball. They're at the American, like you just mentioned, they're moving up, they're beating teams like Memphis, playing in the NIT, but nobody, like you said, the NIT is not the goal each year.
Not the goal,
man. The March Madness, Final Four, national championship is the goal each year. So bringing intensity, he brings a lot of that. You can see that in his facial expression, the passion. You can truly tell that he really loves the game of basketball and coaching players as well.
Right, I definitely agree with you guys. I think UNT historically has focused on their defensive side of the ball, whether it was Grant McCaslin or Ross Hodge. I would like to see him keep that this year, but there's a little bit more I would like to see out of Ross Hodge. I would like to see us pick up the pace on offense, score early, score quick. What about you?
I feel like a slower paced offense is good. Even though they're getting key features in the transfer portal, UNT, like I just stated, they don't have guys who statistically scoring 20 points a night. A slower paced offense is keeping those teams like LSU not throwing 100 points on you and you're scoring like 50. So a slower paced offense is very key, and I feel like they should stick with that mentality and philosophy.
Jose?
I gotta agree with him, man. That's a great way to do it, and I feel like what a great way to just wrap this all up with my thoughts of just agreeing with him, man.
And as we end this block here, we'll stick with basketball coming up as we talk about the Dallas Mavericks.
The do's and don'ts of the Pole Rec Center. See that man over there? Please do not hog weights. Instead, do this. Another important part is having an attentive spotter. See, here is an example of a non-attentive spotter. Instead, do this. Now we head to the track, which should be pretty easy, just it's important to pay attention to the way the track goes. Remember to wipe down the equipment after you're done using it. The towels are provided by the gym, so it's pretty easy to wipe down the equipment when you are done. Thank you for using the Pole Recreation Center.
There's no harm in wanting to have fun while in college, but it's easy to lose track of how much you've had. Apps like Drink Control and Alkadroid can help keep track of your consumption and blood alcohol levels. If you or someone else does drink too much, the signs of alcohol poisoning are as follows: pale skin, vomiting, confusion, low body temperatures, irregular breathing, blacking out, and is hard to wake up or cannot be woken up.
Dude, are you okay? Hey, what's wrong? Wake up.
It's an exciting time of year, but it's important to be responsible. If you suspect someone is suffering from alcohol poisoning, get help immediately. You will not get in trouble for seeking help if you are underage. For more info and resources, go to UNT's Division of Student Affairs.
Welcome back to SportsZone. I'm your host, Mackenzie Freeman, and we get to talk about the Dallas Mavericks as they took a win yesterday over the Orlando Magic, 108-85. Here to talk about the game with me and the Dallas Mavericks is Omar Najim and Kenny Johnson. Guys, big win yesterday, 108-85. What did you guys like out of the Mavericks last night?
Well, I liked really their defense. They played really good defense. Holding the Magic to 85 points was really good. The Magic himself, you can tell they're not the same without Paolo.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Luka had a good game. Gafford really had a good game.
Finally.
Yes, I really did enjoy Gafford. Of course, you know, Lively's always going to be a spark plug off the bench. So I really think they played really good, and hopefully they can continue this play throughout the season.
And Omar?
Yeah, I just think the Mavericks defense is really well. That was like the main thing. Also, the Magic couldn't buy a bucket last night.
No,
so.
they really couldn't. I believe they were like 19% from three and not much better from field goal range. And guys, obviously, Luka, Kyrie, Klay, the sort of big three on the team. We're now a few games in. How are you guys noticing that dynamic work together? Omar?
Yeah, I think that dynamic is really well. The Mavericks, seems like Klay is still shooting off a little bit, but I think that he'll get better as the year goes on.
And Kenny?
I would say it's been good, but with growing pains. I mean, of course, Kyrie and Luka are going to get their buckets. I mean, Kyrie's averaging 23 points, Luka's averaging 28. Klay is actually averaging near 15 points, which is not bad per se. I wish his usage rate could be higher because his usage rate is only 19.1, while Gafford's is 20%. So
I think if they could feed him the ball, and also there's been plenty of opportunities, especially when I seen him playing against the Magic. Like there was times where Clay was wide open.
Yeah.
They could have passed it, but they didn't. So, and like you said, he has to get his buckets. Like when he has his opportunities, he has to make it. But I think that will get better along with the season.
Yeah, and last night, Clay didn't have the best shooting game. I believe he was 1 for 5 from 3, 9 points, but he did find a way to contribute elsewhere. Obviously, Gafford, finally had his game that we've expected out of him all season. But Clay, he had 4 assists, 5 rebounds. Nothing too crazy, but definitely helped somewhere else. And y'all brought up the Magic and Banchero being out. What do the Magic need to do while Banchero is out to grab some wins?
Well, personally, I mean, with Banchero, he was able to drive. He was a good driver. So, and then he got most of his assists from kicking it out to the 3. And there, you can see yesterday where they weren't even able to buy a bucket. I mean, they were 19% from 3. So they really have to get their shots up. Then just really guys like Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Anthony Black, they have to step up.
Yeah.
I mean, especially Franz Wagner. I mean, he was the second option, but I feel like he can play that point forward role. If he's able to be more aggressive, drive down the lane, you can kick it to guys like Jalen Suggs. You can kick it to guys like Anthony Black and, Caldwell Pope. So you have guys there. You just have to just maneuver and step up. Next man up.
Right. And Omar, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with what he said. They just need to find another scorer, someone who can score points for them. They looked really awful from the shooting, and you can have those type of nights, but Paulo is their main guy. He's their main scorer. He put up like 50 points last week. So I think they just need to give some time and try to grow some role players into putting up 20 points a game.
Yeah, and just to emphasize what you guys both said, you mentioned Franz Wagner. He had 13 points leading the team. When you think of 13 points on your great teams or good teams, you think a middle-of-the-pack guy that gets, 20 to 25 minutes, not a guy that you started and, he filled that starting role. But let's talk about Daniel Gafford for a bit. He hasn't had that great of a game up until now. Do you think it's because he doesn't necessarily have to be one of the best scorers on the team, or do you think, he's still kind of meshing with that starting lineup, obviously with the dynamic changing with Klay Thompson coming into the mix?
I would say Gafford is playing his role. I mean, Gafford, he's a shot blocking, rim running, and big man. I mean, he's playing his roles, setting good screens, And then people think also, too, I mean, I know people argue like, Lively should start. Granted, I think they will, but at the same time, too, the Mavericks have a really good situation. I say that they have a good problem. You have 2 starting bigs.
Yeah.
You can alternate in between. So I think both have been playing good, especially Gafford. So as long as they keep playing their roles, because their goal is to not be the star.
Well, and the hard thing with comparing Gafford to Lively right now is they're playing not with 2 different teams, but they're playing 2 different roles on the team that they're on. Because you look at Gafford, he plays with Clay, he plays with Kyrie, he plays with Luka. He's going to be 4th or 5th option depending on how PJ Washington does in the game. Derek Lively, when he's in with guys like Jaden Hardy, Quentin Grimes, Maxi Kleber, Derek Lively is the number 1 option. So I think that's why we see on a game-to-game basis Derek Lively somewhat having a better performance just because their roles are so different when they're on the court. What about you, Omar?
I just think that they both need to just average like almost 10 boards and 10 points,
Just double-double, 10 and 10.
Exactly. If Gafford goes 6 for 6 field goal percentage, just 6 dunks, I think that's a good night for him, right? So I just think that they're both going to probably average about 20 minutes, a game. Or 25 minutes is what was last year at least. They both averaged about 25 minutes. So I think it just depends on who's playing better and who's, struggling versus whatever center they're playing.
Right, and as far as the Mavs go, I brought up the bench, so we'll talk about the bench a little bit here. Are there any players on the bench that you guys would like to see step up a little bit, Omar?
I still want to see Clay step up a little more. I feel like he needs to be like at least shooting like 50% from 3, 1 for 5 is not going to get it done for me. But other than that, Probably, oh man, it's a tough one actually. I want to see more Spencer Dinwiddie.
Okay.
Actually. Just I feel like Jalen Hardy's kind of struggled this year,
Mhm.
and even just last year. He's still really young, but I feel like Spencer Dinwiddie. Let's say if Kyrie gets injured or something like that, I want to see Spencer Dinwiddie step up.
And Kenny?
So mine is a hot take. I think it's Najee Marshall.
I agree. I do not think that's a hot take.
I'm saying this. We traded for a 3-and-D guy. Bro's been all D, no 3. like if you want to be completely honest, bro, hear me out. He is 0% from 3. We traded for a 3-and-D guy.
I want to disagree with him. I'll wait.
0%. And you know the modern NBA, if you can't shoot a 3, you might as well sit on the bench.
Yep.
Because he's just running laps at this point. So I would say Najee Marshall. That's just me personally.
I agree, and I'm going to get into the numbers here just because once you hear the numbers, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
All right.
Najee Marshall is getting between 15 to 20 minutes a game, averaging his high for the season, 4 points. And like Kenny mentioned, we wanted him to be a 3-and-D guy. We expected him to be hot off the bench, be alongside Derek Lively, being that guy that can shoot from the outside, and he just hasn't been. And then, you can argue that Jaden Hardy hasn't been performing, but Jaden Hardy's also getting, 10 minutes a game, so can he really even get into a rhythm? Najee Marshall, he's getting that playing time. He can get into that rhythm and contribute a little bit more. But we'll move on from that, get into the Mavericks versus Pacers tonight. I think this is going to be an interesting game. The Pacers don't have the best record right now, but you've got Siakam on that team. Obviously, you have Halliburton on that team. What do you guys think is the key matchup for the Mavericks versus Pacers? Omar?
I think it's Luka and Halliburton. I feel like they're the ones that are going to control the game. The Pacers play very fast. They don't play very slow. They're one of the fastest teams in the league on, pace.
Yeah.
So the Mavs are one of the slowest, which I think will be a huge a huge momentum for them,
Right.
So
if they can get into a rhythm with that high speed.
yeah, I think that'll have the advantage.
Yeah. Kenny?
It's still Halliburton's team personally. So, I mean, though he's not shooting the best, he averages near 7 assists a game. So as long as he can move the rock, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's going to be Halliburton and Luka, see how those guys sort of lead their team. But that's all we have time for today. Be sure to follow us on our socials at NTTV_sports. And be sure to tune in on our YouTube at North Texas Television tomorrow night for our election coverage coming up.